Before Period 5 began, the world was dominated by European discovery. Creations such as the Italian Renaissance launched the continent out of the Middle Ages and into the Age of Discovery. The Columbian Exchange connected the world in a way that was not seen before in history. Period 5 occurred from the years 1750 to 1900. To put those years into context, the 7 Years' War began in 1754, and the Boxer Rebellion occurred in 1900. Period 5 is broken into 4 parts: industrialization and global capitalism, imperialism and nation-state formation, nationalism, revolution, and reform, global migration. Key concept 5.1. Industrialization fundamentally altered the production of goods around the world. A variety of factors led to the rise of industrial production. Europe's location on the Atlantic Ocean, the geographical distribution of coal, and the abundance of iron and timber. The development of machines, including steam engines and the internal combustion engine, made it possible to exploit vast new resources of energy stored in fossil fuels, specifically coal and oil. The development of the factory system concentrated labor into a single location and led to an increasing degree of specialization of labor. As new methods of industrial production became more common in parts of the northwestern Europe, they spread to other parts of Europe and the rest of the world. The Second Industrial Revolution led to new methods of the production of steel, chemicals, electricity, and precision machinery during the second half of the 19th century. The changes in the mode of production also stimulated the professionalization of sciences such as medicine or engineering and led to the increasing application of science to new forms of technology. Part 2. New patterns of global trade and production developed that further integrated the global economy as industrialists sought raw materials in new markets for the increasing amount of goods produced in their factories. The need for raw materials for the factories and increased food supplies for the growing population in urban centers led to the growth of export economies around the world that specialized in mass-producing single natural resources, such as cotton, rubber, palm oil, sugar, wheat, meat, or guano. The profits from these raw materials were used to purchase finished goods. The rapid development of industrial production contributed to the decline of economically productive, agriculturally based economies, such as textile production in India. The rapid increase in productivity caused by the industrial production encouraged industrialized states to seek out new consumer markets for their finished goods, such as Britain and French attempts to open up the Chinese market during the 19th century. The need for specialized and limited metals for industrial production, as well as the global demand for gold, silver, and diamonds as forms of wealth, led to the development of extensive mining centers, such as copper mines in Mexico or gold and diamond mines in South Africa. Part 3. To facilitate investments at all levels of industrial production, financiers developed and expanded various financial institutions. Financial institutions expanded, such as stock markets, insurance, gold standard, or limited liability corporations. The global nature of trade and production contributed to the proliferation of large-scale transnational businesses, such as bicycle tires, the United Fruit Company, or the HSBC, Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation. The ideological inspiration for these financial changes lie in the development of laissez-faire capitalism by Adam Smith and economic liberalism by John Stuart Mill. Part 4. There were major developments in transportation and communication, including railroads, steamships, telegraphs, and canals. Part 5. The development and spread of global capitalism led to a variety of responses. In industrialized states, many workers organized themselves to improve working conditions, limit hours, and gain higher wages, while others opposed capitalist exploitation of workers by promoting alternative visions of the future, such as utopian socialism, Marxism, or anarchism. In a small number of states, governments promoted their own state-sponsored visions of industrialization, such as the economic reforms of Meiji Japan, the developments of factories and railroads in Tsarist Russia, China's self-strengthening movement, or Muhammad Ali's development of cotton textile industry in Egypt. In response to criticisms of industrial global capitalism, some governments attempted to prevent rebellions by promoting various types of reforms, such as state pensions and public health in Germany, expansion of suffrage in Britain, or public education in many states. Part 6. The ways in which people organized themselves into societies also underwent significant transformations in industrialized states due to the fundamental restructuring of the global economy. New social classes, including the middle class and proletariat, developed. Family dynamics, gender roles, and demographics changed in response to industrialization. Rapid urbanization that accompanied global capitalism often led to unsanitary conditions, as well as new forms of community. Key Concept 5.2. As states industrialized during this period, they also expanded their existing overseas colonies and established new types of colonies in transoceanic empires. Part 1. Industrializing powers established transoceanic empires. States with existing colonies, such as Britain and India or the Dutch in Indonesia, strengthened their control over those colonies. European states, such as the British, Dutch, French, German, or Russian, as well as the Americans and the Japanese, established empires throughout Asia and the Pacific, while Spanish and Portuguese influence declined. Many European states used both warfare and diplomacy to establish empires in Africa, such as British in West Africa or Belgium in the Congo. In some parts of their empire, Europeans established settler colonies, such as the British in Southern Africa, Australia and New Zealand, or the French in Algeria. In other parts of the world, industrialized states practiced economic imperialism, such as the British and French expanding their influence in China through the Opium Wars, or the British and the United States investing heavily in Latin America. Part 2. Imperialism influenced state formation and contraction around the world. The expansion of U.S. and European influence over Tokugawa Japan led to the emergence of the Meiji Japan. The United States, Russia, and King China emulated European transoceanic imperialism by expanding their land borders and conquering neighboring territories. Anti-imperial resistance led to the contraction of the Ottoman Empire, such as the establishment of independent states in the Balkans, semi-independence in Egypt, French and Italian colonies in North Africa, or later British influence in Egypt. New states, such as the Cherokee Nation, Siam, Hawaii, or the Zulu Kingdom, developed on the edges of an empire. The development and spread of nationalism as an ideology fostered new communal ideas, such as the German nation, Filipino nationalism, or German nationalism. Key Concept 5.3. The 18th century marked the beginning of an intense period of revolution and rebellion against existing governments, and the establishment of new nation-states around the world. Part 1. The rise and diffusion of Enlightenment thought that questioned established traditions in all areas of life often preceded the revolutions and rebellions against existing governments. Enlightenment thinkers, such as Voltaire or Rousseau, applied new ways of understanding the natural world to human relationships, encouraging observation and inference in all spheres of life. Enlightenment thinkers critiqued the role that religion played in public life, insisting on the importance of reason as opposed to revolution. Enlightenment thinkers, such as Locke or Montesquieu, developed new political ideas about the individual, natural rights, and the social contract. Enlightenment thinkers also challenged existing notions of social relations, which led to the expansion of rights as seen in expanded suffrage, the abolition of slavery, and the end of serfdom. Part 2. Beginning in the 18th century, peoples around the world developed a new sense of commonality based on language, religion, social customs, and territory. These newly imagined national communities linked this identity with the borders of the state, whilst governments used the idea to unite diverse populations. Part 3. The spread of Enlightenment ideas and increasing discontent with imperial rule propelled reformist and revolutionary movements. Subjects challenged the centralized imperial governments, such as the Wahhabi rebellion against the Ottomans or the challenge of the Marathas to the Mughal sultans. American colonial subjects led a series of rebellions, which facilitated the emergence of independent nation-states in the United States, Haiti, and the mainland nations of modern Latin America. French subjects rebelled against the monarchy. These revolutions reflected the ideas of the Enlightenment in writings, the Declaration of Independence, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, and the Jamaica Letter. Slave resistance, such as the establishment of maroon societies, challenged existing authorities in the Americas, such as Brazil, Cuba, or the Guanas. Increasing questions about political authority and growing nationalism contributed to anti-colonial movements, such as the Indian Revolt of 1857, the Mahdist Revolt, or the Boxer Rebellion. Some of the rebellions were influenced by religious ideas and millenarism, such as the Taiping Rebellion, the Ghost Dance, or the Hosa cattle killing movement. Part 4. The global spread of Enlightenment thought and their increasing number of rebellions stimulated new transnational ideologies and solidarities. Discontent with monarchist and imperial rule encouraged the development of new political ideologies: liberalism, socialism, and communism. Demands for women's suffrage and an emergent feminism challenged political and gender hierarchies. Key Concept 5.4. Migration patterns changed dramatically throughout this period, and the number of migrants increased significantly. Part 1. Migration in many cases was influenced by changes in demography in both industrialized and unindustrialized societies that presented challenges to existing patterns of living. Changes in food production and improved medical conditions contributed to a significant global rise in population. Because of the nature of the new modes of transportation, both internal and external migrants increasingly relocated to cities. This pattern contributed to the significant global urbanization of the 19th century. Migrants relocated for a variety of reasons. Many individuals, such as manual laborers or specialized professionals, chose freely to relocate, often in search for work. The new global capitalist economy continued to rely on coerced and semi-coerced labor migration, including slavery, Chinese and Indian indentured servitude, and convict labor. While many migrants permanently relocated, a significant number of temporary and seasonal migrants returned to their home societies, such as Japanese agricultural workers in the Pacific, Lebanese merchants in the Americas, or Italians in Argentina. Part 3. The large-scale nature of migration, especially in the 19th century, produced a variety of consequences and reactions to the increasingly diverse societies on part of migrants and the expanding population. Due to the physical nature of the labor in demand, migrants tended to be male, leaving women to take on new roles in the home society that had been formerly occupied by men. Migrants often created ethnic enclaves, such as concentrations of Chinese or Indians in different parts of the world, which helped transplant their culture into new environments and facilitated the development of migrant support networks. Receiving societies did not always embrace immigrants, as seen in various degrees of ethnic and racial prejudice in the new ways states attempted to regulate the increased flow of people across their borders, such as the Chinese Exclusion Act or the White Australia policy.